Hey, Charles, good morning.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. What's gone well for you this week?
I had a little bit of a breakthrough in my. I was doing some calculating and some planning for the rest of my solo travel this year,
Mm,
and I decided based on just places I like to go, how easy it is to and cheap it is to travel there, and to get lodging there that is adequate. Again, when I travel alone, I like to stay at hostels super cheap, so I like cities that have really nice, really clean hostels. And now that I've also sort of cracked the code on this day pass at a co-working facility, I'm going to stick to cities I know have places like that. So my four favorite cities to visit are, in no particular order: New York, where I just got back from. So I guess that is particular because I just went there. The other three are Washington, D.C., Boston, and Chicago. Those are my favorite towns to visit. Um, I would say, actually, L.A. would be kind of close, a close fifth, and maybe Atlanta too. But L.A. is very spread out. So the walking around, there's you gotta take more Ubers there, and because public transportation in LA is not like public transportation in DC or New York. It's a bit of a rougher crowd. At least it has been in my experience. When you hop on a bus in New York, it's pretty much just a smaller version of the subway, where you get everybody from professionals to uh, crazy people and everything in between. Where in LA, their bus service is a little bit more like Orlando's bus service, where it's just people who can't get owning and maintaining a car together. They just can't make it work. So that's yeah. So anyway, those four: New York, Chicago, DC, and Boston are my four favorites, and I'm going to try to visit one every quarter. Really at the beginning of every quarter. So I did January. That means I'm going to do April, July, and October. And now it's just a matter of me figuring out which one I wanted to do first. April, I'll probably do DC because April is kind of springtimey in DC, where April in Chicago could still be, you don't know what you're going to get in April in Chicago.
mm-hmm.
It could still be blizzard times. So yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to probably sometime today see if I can get a good deal on traveling to DC in April and book 2 or 3 nights up there.
That's exciting. That's great.
Yeah, I'm happy about it. I love being able to put trips on the Countdown app on my phone and look forward to them.
Yeah, that definitely would motivate me for sure.
What about you? What's gone well for you?
So I had an accidental epiphany or minor epiphany over the weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me, and I don't know if I followed up with you to talk to you about it.
Yeah, that was actually a different one. That was during Podfest.
You had multiple epiphanies.
I had multiple. Yes.
Good. Not all men are capable of that.
I know. I feel lucky. I am blessed. I am blessed. So we'll talk about the Podfest one offline here.
Okay.
But the one that I'm happy to share is I just realized something about myself where I wanted to incorporate a little bit more cardiovascular exercise in my routine. I really enjoy lifting. I tend to just do that more often than not. It's just something that I've just come to enjoy. And not that I really hate cardio stuff. There's certain things that I don't like as much, and I definitely don't like it as much as lifting. But I remember, doing the Way Better challenge for a 5K challenge, where over 6 weeks it builds you up to actually being able to run a 5K at the end of it if you've really not run before. And one of the things I really appreciated, and we talked about this briefly, was that it's not a straight incline of more and more and more and more miles that you're running every single time.
Right.
It varies. So you might do 0.5 miles one day, you might do 1 mile the next day, then you might go back down to 0.5 miles, and then you'll go up to 1.5 miles. And then each week kind of progresses that way, 4 runs a week. And the reason why I enjoyed it was that was one reason. Another reason is it got me outside. I was able to get a little fresh air, but I felt obligated to do it. It wasn't expensive, but I had $30 on the line that if you don't complete all of these and check in with your tracker on all these runs, you
Right.
lose that money. And I was like, well, you know what? I want to run more. I tried running and adding these runs into a normal schedule for where I'm lifting a few days, running a few days, and I just wasn't running. I wasn't doing it. So I
Right.
decided, you know what? I'm going to go back, and realized it was the Way Better app, and putting money on the line and following that schedule and being able to check in, and even getting that little celebration at the end of it saying, hey, great job. You
Right.
accomplished your run today. And I wouldn't have done 4 runs last week if I wasn't as part of this challenge. Saturday after our last day of Podfest, it's wonderful, but it's also draining. And so I was exhausted. I was heading over to my girlfriend's place, and I was like, well, you know what? Normally I would just go and crash, but I needed to get that last 2-mile run in. And I'm proud of myself. I went to the gym, I got it done, and I definitely wouldn't have if I didn't have had made this commitment and had these other benefits from it. So my epiphany really was that I need to really find ways to incentivize myself to do the things that I don't really enjoy as that much. But the Way Better is a great way of helping me increase the amount of cardio that I'm doing. And really, as I'm getting older, I realize I need to do a little bit more cardiovascular exercise. So, yeah, it was just an easy way of doing it. So that was a little bit of my wake up call over the weekend. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit at Podfest about how these fitness challenging apps, by just putting some money on the line, and they, I'm sure the amounts that they chose for what it cost to start one was no coincidence. They probably did a lot of research based on who their target market was, how much disposable income they have, and how much they have to charge for somebody to feel like, okay, if I don't win, if I'm not able to complete it, it's not going to bankrupt me, but it is enough money to make me care about it, so that I'll work hard to keep it going. And I had the same experience yesterday. I'm fighting this head cold that I picked up at Podfest, but because I'm in this step bet challenge, and we talked how it impacts the tiny habits method. It both bumps up the motivation, and I'm getting alerts on my phone and on my Apple Watch that say, okay, you've only got a few hours left in the day and you still need 2,000 more steps. You better get moving. And both the prompt and the motivation side are definitely affected by joining up with these. So again, we're not making any money off of them yet. But yeah, I do recommend both the Way Better app as well as StepBet, which I believe is owned by Way Better. So you can go either way. And I did not renew my Way Better annual membership, so I'm just doing the StepBet challenges that don't require you to be a member. And so I think you may get a little, like when you join a member race, they don't take a cut of the prize money. And so when you do win, you can get a little bit more money back when you're in a member race than when you're in a non-member race. But all I'm looking for is, even if I got half the money back if I won, I'd probably still do it, because it still is enough of an incentive to, to push you to, okay, I gotta get up and do this, because I don't want to lose. And so with my current one, it sets my steps at something in line with what I've been doing for the past number of weeks or months or whatever. And then I have two power days and 4 active days, and 1 day that I can just take off. For me, that day was Saturday. After the end of Podfest, I had gotten my goal every other day of the week. And so on Saturday, I only had, I think 4,500 or 4,600 steps. And when I got home and I was feeling like I had a cold coming on, I was like, that's it. This is my day that I'm gonna waste, and I'll figure out somehow to get up on Sunday and get it done no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so I went over to our nicest shopping mall in Orlando, the Mall at Millenia, and just did a couple laps. I did 1 lap all around the bottom floor, 1 lap all around the top floor, and then I had a couple of stops on the way there and the way back, do a little grocery shopping and stuff like that. And by the time I got back, I was at my 10,000. So that's what I needed for my power goal. And yeah, and it feels good to to be like, okay, that $40 is still a possibility. And for me, I'm just starting week 5, and it's a 6-week challenge. So next Sunday, not the one coming up, but the one after that, will be the end of it, and hopefully I'll be able to whip this cold into shape enough that I can get my steps. Hopefully with my girlfriend's schedule, I'll be able to squeeze in a Disney day with her, because that's a gimme when it comes to an active goal day or a power goal day. It's just, once I set foot on Disney property, I'm getting 15,000 steps no matter what.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, when you hit that 10,000 steps and you saw that you hit that 10,000 steps, what went through your mind?
I was glad that I decided to do it, even though I was not comfortable from the walk so much as, and I noticed this when I was at Mall at Millennia. One of the things that we talked about from an advice perspective earlier on in Atomic Attraction was the importance of being able to hold eye contact with people. And so I tried that when I was at the mall, as I was walking around trying to, meet and hold people's gaze. But it is so much harder when you have to breathe out of your mouth, that, because I was congested and my nose was clogged up. And so I'm walking around and I'm only breathing out of my mouth, not my mouth and nose, or not just my nose. Because usually I like to walk with my mouth closed, not just hanging around, my mouth hanging open like there's something wrong with me. But yeah, so the fact that I was walking around with a gaping mouth definitely hit my confidence at a level where I did not feel like looking people in the eye as much as I would have otherwise. But I did feel good that I accomplished it. I felt good that, it's 10,000 steps is not earth shattering by any means, but when you're busy, when it's your last day, when you feel like you have to do it and you're fighting a head cold. It felt good to say, all right, I decided to get out here and do this anyway, even though I would definitely have rather lay on my bed and watch YouTube videos.
So I'm searching for, as if you couldn't tell, what your natural celebration is. So did you say something to yourself internally? Did you pump your fist? Did you
snap my fingers? That's my easy go-to, is just a finger snap. Like when I realize that I've done something that I didn't really feel like doing, but I did it anyway. Yeah, just give myself one of those.
Great. That's fantastic. That's
my go-to celebration for stuff, is just one snap. And
that's perfect.
You could even do that in public without looking too weird.
Yeah,
people think you just remembered something.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Hey, whatever. It's important to remember those things and kind of start making like a little mental list of what those are, because as I do my habits and push myself and get more uncomfortable doing them at the end, that's where you want to ramp up those good feelings. And so having a nice long list of those celebrations that you can whip out and do a little bit longer, do a few more snaps or whatever else you can pile on there to really just kind of pat yourself on the back and say, nice job, and feel proud about that. That's what you want to shoot for.
Yeah, the thing I'm trying to keep in mind is something you and I talked about, I think yesterday or the day before, from the Huberman podcast, which is to realize that you should celebrate the effort more than you should celebrate the meeting the goal, or certainly more than you should celebrate some abstract reward that you've set up for yourself in the distant future. So honestly, if I even got to the point yesterday where I drove all the way to the mall, which, because of Orlando traffic and stuff, that's about a 35-minute drive. If I drove to the mall and I walked around one store and I was like, screw this, I feel terrible, and I got in the car and drove home, I would feel not quite as good as getting the 10,000 steps, but I would feel almost as good, because I still put myself through a hassle. And if I put myself through that hassle and my body was still like, we can't do this. You're fighting off something. You need to, drink a bunch of water and lay in bed. Then I still would have felt pretty good that I tried, but it wasn't that bad. So I was able to finish it.
Yeah, good. One of the keys, BJ talks about with the Tiny Habits method is actually working towards, and Huberman said this too, is working towards feeling good while you're doing that habit or that thing that's good for you.
Celebrate the effort, not the end, not the end result. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Because that makes, and Huberman gets into more of the neuroscientific reasons why that's a good idea and how it affects dopamine and stuff like that. And if you focus on enjoying the effort, then you get that dopamine trickle the whole time that you're doing it, instead of just the dopamine rush at the end when you are eating the ice cream sundae that you bought yourself because you finished your first 10K or whatever it is. Because the other thing is, when you put off your brain's reward to the very end of the process, where you get yourself that not a reward but a incentive, at the very end, like you buy yourself the ice cream sundae because you ran the 10K, that actually makes your practices and the time you're running the 10K more miserable on you and seem like it's taking longer than it needs to, because you focus your dopamine dump just on the end reward. Yes.
You're anticipating the whole time, right? Yeah, and I think a lot of people talk about different. People get a runner's high, and some people get addicted to exercise. Well, that's because they're actually enjoying. So their reward is doing the exercise. It is triggered. They've wired their brain to release the dopamine and all those good feelings while they're doing that activity. And that's why sometimes for us, certain things are, when it comes to exercise, especially, we just naturally do them a lot more. It's because we know how good that feels, versus having to consciously put some effort into feeling good when we're doing new things, because new things require more energy, and we don't want to expend energy. So doing anything new. But what's interesting is, once you are conscious about it, you really focus on feeling good and celebrating while you're doing it. And afterwards, it happens so quickly when it comes to so for running. I mean, after 1 week of doing it, I'm actually looking forward to doing it again this week. And I've only been doing it for a few days. So it's be patient with yourself and realize it's not going to be miserable for very long.
Yeah. That's something new. Again, that's another, boy, we have so many good talks offline. I wish we were recording all the time sometimes. I recently sort of doubled down on my no sugar, no grain diet. And, the thing is, what makes all of these changes so much easier is the faster you can identify yourself as a person that does fill in the blank. Like, oh, I'm a person that just doesn't eat much sugar. I'm a person that doesn't eat grain. I'm a person that runs every day. You don't have to string together 6 months of doing that thing perfectly every day before you can take that identity on. You can take that identity on right now. You can just decide, okay, I'm a person that just doesn't eat much sugar. And, that when I've kind of set up Sunday to be my sort of cheat day, where I can not go completely crazy off the rails, but I can have a little something that I won't let myself have the rest of the week. And, yesterday I thought of a few things, like, oh, I could have this, I could have that, I could have the other thing. What I ended up getting for my cheat day was at Wawa, they sell single, like, little 1 counts of chocolate covered cherries, where right at the cash register you could just get 1 chocolate covered cherry. And as I was looking around their store for horrible snacks and treats, I had the thought of, I'm somebody that just doesn't eat much sugar, so I got that 1 little chocolate covered cherry, and that was my cheat day yesterday, which felt very boring and anticlimactic, but that's what I went with yesterday.
But feel good about that, and that's an identity shift. And we covered Tiny Habits, but there's other habit books out there. One of them, Atomic Habits, and by James Clear. And I actually read that one first. But he talks about basically casting a vote for the identity that you are assuming, and every action that we take or don't take casts a vote for who we basically are creating for ourselves. And so, by choosing to only have that chocolate cherry, you cast a vote for somebody who doesn't eat a lot of sugar.
Right.
And that's the nice thing, is every time you think, you fall off the wagon, and maybe, you go out and you have a pizza and ice cream, whatever, one night by accident.
Right.
Okay, look, you cast a vote for somebody who eats that stuff, but you can kind of make up for that by going the very next meal, saying, what vote am I going to cast for myself right from the very next meal, from the very next action or inaction, and get right back on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many of us, lose so much time that we could spend working toward our goals because we have to wait till Monday to start over. We have to wait till the first of the month to start over. We have to wait till New Year's Day to start over. Where, when it comes to trying to eat better, I mean, literally everything, every choice of what you put in your mouth, you don't have to go off the rails and say, oh, I screwed up and deal with a bunch of guilt that slows you down and gets in your way. The very next time you have to have a drink of water, a sip of coffee, or a bite of a snack to keep you going until your next meal, you can make a better choice than the one that you didn't make that you feel bad about.
Yeah, something I actually heard for the first time this morning was, not doing a habit is the same thing. It's basically we have habits that we do and we have habits that we don't do. So basically, if you want to start going to the gym right now, you are in the habit of not going to the gym. So
That's
to
true.
start that habit, you need to you got to break the habit of not going to the gym, but then you need to start an additional habit of going to the gym. Right.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
Right. And I never thought about it that way. So cast the vote. So every time you decide I'm not going to the gym, you're casting a vote for somebody who doesn't go to the gym.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. And it really, helps solidify the fact that we all we're creatures of momentum. And so, we have to take steps. You're going in some direction no matter what you do. Even if you're just laying in bed watching TV, that is putting you on a path towards something.
And a lot of times that's an autopilot. A lot of we don't realize, our habits and the habits that we are doing, which is not going to the gym. That is a habit, and it is on autopilot, and it takes some effort to kind of wake up and break that habit. So be kind to yourself. The motto here is be kind to yourself and be aware that this is, by going to the gym, even if it's just putting on your sneakers instead of sitting on the couch and not going to the gym and casting a vote for somebody who doesn't go to the gym, just by putting on your sneakers and walking to the front door and doing that starter step, that is worth a little bit more than just doing that piece there, right? You are then breaking the cycle and you are voting for the identity of somebody who who goes to the gym.
Yeah. And there's, almost no one is in such a rough shape. I mean, obviously there are some people, dealing with really severe illnesses and things like that. But even for somebody who feels completely out of shape and completely like, oh, I'm too far gone, I'll never get back. There's a big difference between sitting up and watching TV and laying down and watching TV. And that could be the starting point for some people that, want to get their habits changed or get their body a little bit more feeling like, they're comfortable and feeling healthy. I mean, you can start with very, very small changes like that where, just literally from laying down watching TV to sitting up watching TV.
And that's because it gives you a feeling of success. And that is what has been shown scientifically, at least by Dr. Fogg. It's not the level of success that you have, but it's how frequently you feel those successful feelings that will actually lead to more and more changes in the direction that you want.
Yeah. And feeling successful builds confidence, and building confidence builds what, Dan? Attraction.
That's right. Perfect segue.
Thank you. So let's talk about age and attraction from Atomic Habits. This chapter opens up with the quote, "Men are like wine, some turn to vinegar, but the best improve with age," from Pope Adam the 23rd. And if anybody knows how to get women,
it's the Pope.
It's the Pope of the Catholic Church. Absolutely.
100%.
So let's take what he has to say. All right. So like your height, like your hair status, like your eye color, like the size of
penis
what's going. Yeah, there are certain things that are going to be beyond your control, and the fact that you woke up today a day older than you were yesterday is definitely one of those things that's going to be beyond your control. There's nothing you can do about that, and what you can do something about is you can decide what that means for you, how it makes you feel, and the way that it impacts your relationships with other people. There are certainly men with the assumption that as you get older, your looks, your virility, your physical appearance are all going to take a turn for the worse. Fortunately, you need not look very far to find men that have had the opposite life experience. I am certainly in better shape and better looking now than I was even 10 years ago. And wow, when I think about it, 10 years ago, I was kind of on the fence. But when I think 20 years ago, I am definitely better looking and in better shape than I was 20 years ago.
That's fantastic.
And that is is not a rare story when it comes to men getting older. I mean, when you look at year to year, the men that are considered to be the most attractive celebrities, they seem to be, every year they can. I mean, it goes up and down, but some pretty attractive men are getting on that People Magazine sexiest man alive list than they used to. I mean, Sean Connery got it while he was quite old, and that's because he's Sean Connery. But yeah, and he has a lot of the things that guys would say are strikes against them. He was old and he was bald, and still more women named him as the sexiest man than anybody else. Not very long ago.
That's not nothing.
A couple decades ago, but still, he was well past his prime James Bond years, and he was still the guy that women looked up to that way. All right, so while it's true that women are often considered to be in their physical prime in their 20s, which is a mix of probably societal standards as well as the biology of reproduction. A man is considered most attractive between the ages of 25 and 40. And again, it's not hard to find examples of that number being quite a bit higher than 40. We could look at, Tom Cruise starred in the second Top Gun movie, 30 years after the first one, and still was as, if not more attractive in the second movie than he was in the first one.
All right, so I'm gonna call it here and say, well, look, if that's because Tom Cruise and Sean Connery are rich and famous and on TV and have power and wield influence, and that's why women find them attractive.
Okay, I will debate with
their age.
I will debate with you and say that in Connery's case, it is probably a big part of it is his identification with James Bond. As people look at the character and they ascribe many of his attractive traits to Sean Connery, which I'm sure most guys that play James Bond get some benefit from that. With Cruise, however, I would argue, again, Cruise is, depending on who you believe, somewhere between 5'4" and 5'8". With him, it goes right into another thing that I want to point out from the text of this chapter. I believe his avoidance of alcohol and cigarette smoking and junk food plays a huge role in why he looks so good at his age. And I think when you look at a lot of the male celebrities that are in such good shape, there could be other pharmaceutical benefits that they're enjoying, such as human growth hormone and testosterone.
Sure.
But staying away from drinking to excess and smoking cigarettes and eating a ton of junk food will also go a long way to help you out. And here's the other thing. Let's say you're right. Let's say it is about being a celebrity. It is about status. When you're out there in the world meeting women, you're probably not competing with Sean Connery and Tom Cruise. You're probably competing with other guys that are in your own friend group or social circle. And what does it take to have more power and celebrity than Tom Cruise or Sean Connery? It takes a whole lot, and you're probably never going to achieve that. Yep. But what does it take to be among the most powerful and the most known in your friend group? That is probably well within your capabilities to develop just by practicing a little bit more of the things that are associated with extroversion and being a good storyteller. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. The way you dress, there's a lot of things you can do.
These are things that are not related to physical attributes, right? Or necessarily status, right?
Correct. Although they can be related to your status, again, in your social circle and in your friend group. I mean,
I was referring to like celebrity status, like,
right.
Where that's a different level of status here. I feel like they're two different things almost.
Yeah, we have a local celebrity in Orlando that you can run into frequently in downtown Orlando, John Morgan, who owns the nation's largest personal injury law firm, and fairly frequently, if you frequent the bars in downtown Orlando, you may run into John Morgan, and there may be some women that are attracted to him based on, I believe he's married, but I don't know what that means exactly for him and his relationships. But there could be some women who are attracted to him because he's rich and famous and known.
He's on billboards down here quite a bit.
He's on billboards, I believe, all over the country, because I think they have offices all over the country now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're the nation's largest personal injury firm.
I did not know this.
Started right here in Orlando.
Florida. I figured it was Florida. I didn't realize it was big. Nationwide. Wow.
But that said, I would have no fear in going head to head with John Morgan to attract a woman I was interested in, because I'm sure he's rich and powerful and interesting and charismatic, and I've got a lot of those too, and I know how to leverage my strengths, and so yeah, I don't feel like I have to compete with celebrities, and even if I do, I don't know that they're going to win every time.
Yep.
So, I mean, all that said, I've got a girlfriend that I'm with, and I'm very happy. But just to make the point, I don't worry about competition from other men, because when I'm feeling good and I'm prepared to go out and make an impact in my social circle, I feel like I can hang with just about anybody, and I think having that attitude is probably what makes it true.
Okay, so let's take John Morgan out of the equation here, and let's say you're going head to head with a guy who's like 10 years younger than you are.
Okay.
And based on this chapter, what would you take away here in terms of where you actually have an advantage?
I mean, certainly I've got some life experience. There's a good chance that I've spent more time in my career. There's a good chance I've spent more time in figuring out the things I enjoy, the kinds of travel, the kinds of books I like to read. I know myself more probably than he does. And so I think that allows me to, evaluate a potential mate at a level that he does not. And so, look, if I feel like I'm in competition with another guy for the attention of a particular girl, then I'm going to be real sure that that's the kind of girl that I should be spending my time with, that we have, similar values, similar interests, similar things, enough things in common where, it's hard for me to imagine getting myself into a strict competition for a woman's attention. I'm choosy with who I want the attention from, and usually it's somebody that I have enough in common with that we share things that she's not going to find with the average guy. Again, and look, I have never been the kind. I'm not going out to bars trying to pick up girls. That's just not who I am or who I've ever been. And so being in that sort of one-to-one competition, although I did do some speed dating, which I really did enjoy, and that kind of is a competitive scenario. But again, if you don't look at it that way, if you don't look at, I've got to put my best foot forward so I can get the most numbers or pick up the most girls, it's like, no, I'm interviewing women to find out why they're not the right person to spend time with. Mm-hmm. And with that mindset, you're not going to feel like you're in a desperate competition with other guys. You're just in a competition with yourself.
Yeah. And, a thing here that kind of rings true here is that it all kind of comes down to confidence. And so if, being old is messing with your confidence, that's going to translate. And women don't care quite as much. And actually a lot of them, it's a lot more common to find younger women dating older men. I think that seems to happen quite a bit more than necessarily the other way around. And a lot of that is because, women aren't looking just at the physical side of things when it comes to men, right? They're looking at that wisdom, that experience, something they can learn from, something that they can that they could be made to feel a little bit more secure because this guy has the wisdom, experience, has life experience, has gone through things, has dealt with things, and is still here and is able to handle things, right? So a lot of those interactions, the confidence comes across when you are laid back and you're not quite as necessarily uptight and stuffy, right? You can
Right.
actually relax and have fun and keep things fairly lighthearted rather than being serious and concerned and worried. They don't want to bring that into your life, and I wouldn't want to bring that. I wouldn't want to date the same thing for a woman who is fearful and constant, full of anxiety or insecure about those things too. So a lot of what helps me think about, hey, what would I want in somebody, and kind of reverse, put my, go walk in their shoes a little bit and go, okay, what kind of, person would I want to be with? How would they make me feel? How would they present themselves? And once you kind of do that, I feel it's not rocket science to figure out what kind of person you want to be. And then you really can kind of take age out of the equation for the most part.
Yes and no. I agree with most of what you said, and there's no one thing I can point to and say that's not true. But what time does for men and women as well is it does. I would say the quality and attractiveness of men does seem to diverge, like on a road, a path with two roads. The older you get, it's like either you've made choices and are continuing to make choices that are taking you down the road of being more attractive, or you've made choices and continue to make choices that will make you less attractive. So while men, can be at their most attractive in their 40s or 50s, that does depend on what kind of choices they made both in their 20s and 30s and they're continuing to make today. Correct. Where if you've been just beating up your body, treating it like an amusement park, putting every substance that you can find into your body to have a short-term high or a short-term enjoyment, burning out those dopamine processes, then that could have an impact on your body that makes it another thing that a woman would have to look past to see your other attractive traits. So,
sure.
If you've got a lot of lines on your face from smoking, you've spent a lot of time, in the harsh sun without, sunscreen or moisturizers, and you're carrying, the extra weight and things like that, you can still attract high quality women, but it's one more thing that you need to overcome, or that they'll need to overcome to find you attractive. And so you can turn a lot of those things around today. I mean, we all know stories of people who have been long-term smokers and they quit, and they, within a year they look unrecognizable because, they just, their body's healthier, and it translates to everything. So I would say that, you can use getting older as an excuse to just let your body go and fall off the rails, or you can use it as an excuse to say, okay, if I want to stay looking healthy and spry and fit, I'm going to have to work harder at it, but it's worth putting in the effort because, again, women don't value physical attractiveness quite at the same level as men typically do. But why throw roadblocks up in their way that's going to make it harder for them to see the most attractive things about you because you've let your body go?
Right. And I think that the point of this chapter and a lot of these other chapters, when it comes to things that we can't change, such as our age, is that, one, we need to kind of put it in perspective and realize the amount of meaning we're giving it is really dependent on us, and that we may perhaps we're putting too much importance on the fact that whatever our age is, and when we can do that, then maybe we can also do things to minimize the impact that factor has, like your height, other things as well. And what are those things that we can do? And you can, like you said, we can take care of ourselves better and minimize the impact it has. But by initially realizing maybe we're putting too much weight on this one this one factor,
Sure.
that not all hope is lost, that it is worth making a better choice when it comes to, how you treat your body. And so, I feel like it's a little bit of a motivator to say, okay, you know what, we can work with this.
Yeah, and I'm sure I will bring up this example later on in some other chapters where it's a little bit more pertinent. But look, I've lived the last 5 years of my life in a 19-foot travel trailer, and for a lot of guys who don't understand how attraction works, they would say, oh, well, how could you possibly, get any interest in girls at all? I mean, you're essentially homeless living in RV parks. And when I get to tell the story of why I've decided on this life of minimalism and this life of uncomplicated residency where I can pick up and leave and go where I want to when I want to and limit myself to owning fewer possessions, I mean, I find that just by honestly telling the story of how I got here, that turns what most guys would look at as a weakness and a lack in a roadblock to attraction. It makes me more attractive because I have an interesting story and I have a purpose and I have something that's driving the decisions I make. And again, in my experience, that seems to be something that women find attractive, and it works in my favor, not against me. And I think you can turn any weakness into a strength based on the story that you tell yourself about it. Maybe not any. Okay, I'll take that back. If you're on your fifth DUI and you have to Uber everywhere because you don't have a driver's license and you've got a horrible cocaine addiction and you've got a bunch of kids that you never see or talk to, I'm not saying you can spin those into a weakness or from those weaknesses into a strength. That's a little different. But your preferences and your age and your hairstyle, I mean, anything that you feel uptight about, you can figure out a way to make that a unique selling point, and doing so in an honest way, not doing so in a salesy, BS-y kind of way.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about dating younger women. Okay. So what's your experience with dating gals that are younger than you, Dan?
I have dated a couple of girls that have been younger than I have. Most of my dating experience are longer term relationships, anywhere from 2 to 3 years usually. So the biggest gap I think was maybe 11 years, and I dated another girl who was about 9 years younger than I was, and there were some differences in terms of the things that we were interested in, for sure. And that probably played into why it didn't work out in the end. But I have, in those relationships, kind of what the author said is our best dates were when things were like fun and lighthearted and not sure. quite as serious about things. So that's kind of my extent of dating younger ladies.
Yeah, I married my first wife was 5.5, 6 years younger than me. And I've dated mostly younger women by that same range or more. My current girlfriend is 12 years younger than I am, I believe, like 12 and a half. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I noticed it has so much more to do with interests and values and the stages that you're in your life. I mean, I think one of the reasons that I date women that are younger than me is because I don't have kids. And so I'm typically dating women who don't have kids, and women who don't have kids and are available to date are typically younger women. So I think that's probably a factor. And, there's things about youthful women in both attitude and appearance that I find attractive, which doesn't make me special or unique by any means. That's fairly common. But I would say that never have I hesitated to date a girl because I thought, oh, she's too young for me, this will be weird, blah blah blah. I mean, obviously I'm not attracted to very, very, I don't think I would find myself in a relationship with a girl who was in her, early 20s, or maybe even at this point, mid 20s. I just don't know that we would have as much in common, enough shared life experience, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think that my age is a factor, because again, it's just the way things work in our society. Women are more likely to date older men than men are likely to date older women. So there doesn't seem to be much of a taboo or a stigma around it at all. And the things that younger women find attractive are masculine traits, typically, like leadership, confidence, decisiveness. But what many guys will do, and I don't know if I could say I've done this as well, but what you have to look out for when you date a younger woman is what you attract her with is what you attract her to. We did talk about this a little bit in more general terms of, if you're a guy who's out there doing fun and exciting things all the time, and traveling by yourself and going hiking or rock climbing or mountain biking, and then you get yourself a girlfriend who thinks all those things are really cool, and then you spend all your time sitting on her couch or your couch watching TV instead, and you give up all the things that you found fun so that you could spend time with her, then that's going to be a detractor for her. Just like dating an attractive young woman and then constantly being worried that other guys are going to be hitting on her and going after her, and you might lose her to a younger guy, or a guy who's as old as you but has more money or status than you. Once you put yourself in that position where now all of a sudden you're worried about losing her, that's going to translate into the way you behave around her and also make you less attractive.
Mm-hmm.
So knock it off. If if you're dating young, attractive women can be a double-edged sword for guys, because that thing that you value so much about them, the thing that makes them so attractive to you, can be the thing that causes you to put them on a pedestal, and it generates a bunch of anxiety in yourself that makes you a lot less fun to be around, because you're constantly worried that okay, the same things that I like about her, all these other guys like me and younger are going to like about her too, and now I got to worry about guys hitting on her and blah blah blah. So if you can't let that go, then you may need to look at dating women that you are not quite as enamored by their physical age and beauty as you might desire.
That's
because there
fair.
is something to be said to having a partner that you're more comfortable and you can relax around. So it's a matter of either finding the right partner, or just get cool with these things that could come along with dating younger, attractive women, and learn to be okay with it. It seems to be because living in a constant state of anxiety of, oh, am I still good enough? Am I still attractive enough? Is she going to leave me for somebody better? That's no way to be in a relationship for you or for her. That's going to make both of you miserable.
For sure. Yep.
All right. Anything else to cover on age and dating, Dan?
I don't have anything at this time.
Yeah, me neither. So if we think of anything, we'll bring it up in the next episode. But otherwise, we will let you guys go for now. And we will see you again in the next one on A Seductive Voice.
Sounds good, sir.
Yeah, we'll get into that nice and deep, so to speak.
Well said.
All right. Talk to you later, Dan.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.